Hello and welcome to Stender Painting. My name is Jimmy and I'm here to tell you that painting miniatures is a fun and rewarding hobby. And coming up with color schemes is just like buttholes. As in they're best kept tight. Sorry. Welcome to this video where I'm going to try and help you, dear viewer, to reignite your passion for painting miniatures. I will recommend that you keep this video playing in the background while you hopefully get some painting done. The secret to finding motivation to paint is often to find a simple and yet inspiring project to work on. When feeling burned out, ask yourself, why did you enter this awesome hobby to begin with? Well, maybe you are solely in the hobby to play games and don't care much about the painting aspect of things. If so, have you considered having a friend or a commission painter to do the work for you? I enjoy gaming myself, but I absolutely love painting. If I had to choose between never having another game again or never hold a brush in my hand again, I would get rid of the gaming aspect in a split second. But no two hobbyists are the same, I fully understand that. Personally, I often struggle with anxiety and swarms of negative thoughts. That is when I usually sit down to paint because the focus painting brings me keeps my negative emotions at bay and the hours just fly away doing what I love. You might have a different reason to paint miniatures, but I just want to point out that this wonderful hobby can be very soothing on the mind. Miniature wargaming gives you something to do with other people who shares your passion, without hiding behind a computer screen, but also something to do in your own. Not many hobbies can do that. Also, I remember the days where I used my entire weekends to play computer games, going to bed when the sun rose with nothing to show for the untold hours I had spent on that hobby. Miniature painting is different. You get results, something to show others, but also yourself, that you haven't just wasted a ton of hours. Now ask yourself, why are you here? I don't mean why you're listening to this video, but what motivated you to try and find, well, motivation? What do you want out of painting miniatures? Is it to improve your skills, end a project, or maybe both? Whatever the case, ask yourself this question: should I change my approach to miniature painting? Do I have a specific goal in mind? Where do you want this hobby to take you? If the answer is both, then my recommendation is that you have two projects ongoing at the same time. The first project should be whatever you're trying to finish, be it an entire army or whatever. The other project should be about improving your skills, something that you can take your time with, as nobody's waiting for you to place it on the tabletop. I would recommend painting busts for this sort of thing, as they often are very detailed and give you a great opportunity to work on skin tones, fur, clothes, whatever you're trying to achieve. I'm not sponsored by anyone, just to be clear, but I find that Green Stuff World have some fine miniatures on their webpage which are well suited for painting practice. Heck, even Temu sells miniatures for cheap. When you realize why you're here and what your endgame goal is, ask yourself this question next: how do you eat an elephant? Well, by taking one bite at a time. Everything in life can be divided up into smaller pieces, and miniature painting is no different. Remember, small victories are much preferable to large defeats. Don't go out and buy an entire army, expecting to paint it all up in a few weeks. That will often lead to burnout, regret and frustration. No, get a single box of miniatures, or maybe just one miniature in total, and start by painting that up. Of course, I shouldn't dictate what you buy or how you paint. I'm just trying to tell you that making plans that are achievable are much better than letting oneself be blinded about the hopes and dreams about having a huge painted army and then go on a crazy spending spree. My wife would nod at this sentiment, if I had one. Planning is crucial when you want to paint up a large number of models. I tend to have a painting session 0, where I sit down and plan my color scheme. I try to use as few colors as possible, especially when I want to paint a large quantity of miniatures. Is it a single miniature or a bust, I tend to go more crazy with the number of colors I'm going to use. But still, I plan it all out first, no matter my objective. I do the same for my YouTube videos. I know all the colors I'm going to use before I turn on my camera and speak my first sentence into the microphone. Sometimes I do a video in a day, other times it takes me a week or more. No matter how long it takes me, I have always planned my videos into small bites. chapters, if you will. You should strongly consider doing the same when painting your miniatures, no matter your goal, to avoid burnout and not seeing the forest for the trees. Maybe I have 50 steps to paint and film on a miniature, but if I can do just step 1 to 3 to begin with, I've made progress and can relax for as long as I want, knowing exactly where to pick up my project again and how far I still have to go in my own pace. I would like to recommend, if you're trying to break down your miniature painting into steps, that you write it down beforehand. This gives you a great overview of what you should do next and how far you've come. Be open, however, to change your manuscript as needed as you go along. The notes are there to help you, but they are not set in stone. This is your hobby and your project. Only you know best in how many and how small pieces you want to eat your elephant. Another important key to maintaining motivation is proper preparation before your painting session begins. Do you have a comfortable work area? Good lighting? All the brushes, tools and paints somewhat within arm's reach? The last thing you want to cause a burnout is to constantly go around searching for a specific color or brush. When you've finally taken the deep dive into miniature painting, you want as few interruptions as possible. Also, think about sound. If you want to lose yourself in miniature painting, I find it essential to have something worthwhile to listen to as you go along. Be it music, your favorite podcast, or heck, maybe even this very video. If so, hi there. That's looking very good. Be careful not to spill your non-oil. Before you sit down and paint, however, you should be able to answer these following questions. How much or little do you need to undercoat? And do you use a can or airbrush? Second, are you doing any conversions? What about options for magnets? Third, have you planned your color scheme? Which color or colors do you want to stand out the most? Lastly, how many bases do you need? How will you paint them? Are you using texture paints or other tools for basing your artwork? To me, a pretty base is just as important as hanging the Mona Lisa up in a frame instead of duct tape. If you got all this sorted out, have a good working environment and a decent taste in music, you're good to go. Well, here we are. If you're still listening to my video, then I have a feeling that you're interested in picking up that brush once more and get some hobby work done. And yes, please remember, this is a hobby, not a job. Unless you do commission work like me, but that's another story. I still regard this as a fun hobby, no matter who I paint miniatures for. In this chapter, we will get into the whole point of this: painting. Until now, we've talked about inspiration and preparation, but how do we actually stay motivated when the painting session has finally begun? I'm afraid I don't have a magical catch-all solution to this, as we are all different individuals with different hopes, dreams and goals. You do have a good taste in YouTubers in common though. I'm glad you're here. I did mention something about buttholes in the beginning of this video. I'm not referring to the smell or anything like that. However, I do remember the awful smell of Games Workshop's old foundation paints in the days before base paints. Where was I? Oh yeah, buttholes. Keep it tight. Your paint schemes, I mean. You don't need a different tone of color for each aspect of the miniature that would benefit more from using the same color. Also, it is much more simple to paint like this. What do I mean? Well, take a look at this clanrat I'm painting. It has a banner pole, shield, club and belt, all of which I would like to paint brown. There's absolutely zero need to go out and buy 4 different variants of brown to paint this miniature. Using the same brown for all 4 parts is, as I've said, simpler. But not only that, it also looks more effective, which is what we want. The focus of this miniature in particular is the banner, not his belt or club. When someone else picks it up and takes a look at my miniature, I want them to notice the banner first and the belt last. If I use 4 different browns, it not only slows down my work, but it also most likely look, well, bad. Keep it tight, especially if you're doing a squad, regiment or an entire army. If you're painting more than a single miniature, consider batch painting. I will admit that I personally prefer to paint my minis one at a time, but I can certainly see the benefits in batch painting. If this is for you, only you can tell. The advantage of batch painting is limited time where you just sit around and wait for the paint to dry. If you're painting a squad of, let's say, 10 Space Marines, then the colors will be dry on the first model when you're finished applying a layer to model number 10. I like to have a minute or two to sip my coffee, check my phone and whatever, but batch painting can be effective. I just regard it as more as an assembly line kind of work, which has the potential downside that it can feel a little soul crushing and goes against what I'm trying to do with this very video, which is to inspire you. I feel different about bases, however. I'm perfectly fine with batch painting those, as they tend to look very much alike. So, you reached the final chapter of my video, where we put it all together. Hopefully we've learned something about motivation, preparation, eating elephants and something about buttholes. Don't lose sight of your overall goal, no matter if it is about improving your skills, painting an entire army or anything in between. Just remember the most crucial tip in this video. Small victories give blood on the teeth for more miniature painting. Defeats do not. So you should be the one choosing the size of your work before you delve into your personal miniature painting elephant. Let this metaphorical elephant be a constant reminder to you if you feel your motivation drop or your project start deviating from the bigger picture you envisioned. Have a clear goal. Keep it simple. Keep it tight. And you'll have an entire elephant eaten before you know it. Okay, enough with the elephants and butthole metaphors for now. I just have a final thought to share before ending my video. Money. I usually shake my head when friends and family ask me why I have such an expensive hobby. I always reply, compared to what? Golf? Cars? Going to the pub every weekend? This hobby is not expensive compared to so much else out there, but it does cost money. There's no way around it. That's why I would like to suggest a hobby budget. This can actually also help you stay motivated when you plan out which miniatures, paints or tools to invest in next. A budget helps you plan out your hobby, while at the same time setting restraints for yourself. I would recommend, whatever your hobby budget, that you keep around a fifth of it reserved to paints and tools. You are inevitably going to need a fresh pot of paint every now and then, and a new sharp blade for your hobby knife, etc. Managing your hobby budget can also inspire you to plan out your purchases for your next painting project. There are plenty of things you can do to prepare your next paint job and inspire yourself to stay motivated. I sincerely hope this video has sparked some ideas and motivation for you to get back to the painting table. If you would like to help me, I would greatly appreciate if you share this video with your hobby friends, especially if you know someone who might need a gentle kick in the rear so that he or she can get back into this wonderful hobby of ours. Thank you so much for listening. Any and all feedback will be greatly appreciated in the comment section. I wish you the best of luck and the highest motivation. Happy painting.